Howdy and welcome to a problematic episode for the 240. I've gotten the wiring harness hooked up and my next step was just to see if the car turned on. Well, not turned on, like turn the engine on, but just turn on accessory power, make sure everything's good, make sure we get a fuel pump prime and everything. So you get the chimes, turn it to accessory. Everything seems pretty good. The fuel pump is primed, you get your dash lights, it's all good. Let's take the key out. Oh, that's weird. Our dash lights are staying on. If I hit the turn signal, that's not supposed to happen. So we have power still in the system. Our car is not completely shutting off, which is obviously a major problem because this is going to drain your battery. And if you put the key back in the ignition and you turn it to accessory, your fuel pump does not prime again. The ECU stays on even after you take the key out. So there's a multitude of problems with this issue. It's not something we can just, take the dash lights out and call it a day. So there are a variety of things that I've already went about testing. I've unplugged the entire wiring harness from the car that I've installed. I've unplugged it from the ECU, from the chassis interface connections, the fuse box connectors out there. That didn't solve the problem. Now you're basically boiling it down to two components. Your ignition switch, which is this guy right here, and you can test that very easily by following this brown shroud down to a 6-pin connector. You turn it on to accessory, unplug it, and see if all the lights go out. That would say that you have a faulty ignition switch. That is not the problem. That does not change anything. The next step would be to locate your ignition relay, which is behind this kick panel and the fuse box back here, which I'm going to show you how to test right now. So what I've done is I've taken out, the kick panel behind the driver's side fuse box here, and there is a starter relay. This is your starter relay. It's brown, it's got a funky 6-pin kind of look to it. So I've taken this out, and if I turn the car to accessory again, none of the dash lights come on, as you can see. The fuel pump primes, our ECU comes on, but obviously you don't get dash lights because that's what that relay controls. Now if you turn off accessory, you'll see that the ECU goes off. The fuel pump, obviously it's not gonna reprime, but if you put the key back in and you turn it to accessory again, the fuel pump reprimes. So I thought that this was our problem. I thought either we had a sticky relay or we were backfeeding voltage into the system somehow. So what I've done is I've taken a voltmeter and I've hooked it up to the two terminals that get power for this relay. Not the switch pins, but the coil pins. And I have it set to a voltage here, so to read voltage. And when we turn on the accessory, we should see about somewhere around 12 volts. And when we turn it off, we should see 0 volts. And if we see that, that means that we are not backfeeding any sort of voltage. So if I turn the car to accessory, we get the fuel pump to prime. We're around 12 volts. We're good to go. If I turn it off, we're at 0 volts, which means that we're not backfeeding voltage. So the terminal over there is not the problem. So the next thing to check would be a sticky relay. The way that you do that is there's a diagram on the back here, and it tells you which pins are the switch pins and which pins are the coil pins, like which ones get power. So you send power to the two that are supposed to get power, which would be this one and this one in this case. You supply it with 12 volts, and you should hear an audible click from the relay, which I did. The next thing you need to do is check continuity between the two switch pins, which would be this one and that one and that one. So you just take your multimeter, you switch it to continuity setting, which for this one would be down anywhere in this bottom left-hand corner, and you check to make sure that you get about 0 resistance between these two pins and these two pins. And I was hoping that we wouldn't see that, but in this case you do. So we don't have a relay that's a problem. So at this point I'm stumped. The only thing that I think could be an issue is that we don't have a map loaded onto the ECU. And because of that, maybe it's keeping something on in the system. So I'm going to get a base map loaded onto this puppy and we'll see if the problem persists. So here we are back in the car. You take your key, you turn it to accessory, fuel pump, everything goes. You got your gauges. ECU turns on. You turn the key off, and everything turns off. You're probably wondering what the problem was, because I certainly was for a better part of 2 days. And if you come over here to your fuse box, there is a relay called the other fuse box, sorry, or relay box, I should say, right by the passenger side. It's tucked down here. There is a fuse called ACC. I believe that stands for accessory. I pulled the fuse and all the problems went away. I replaced the fuse with another one from that fuse box, and the problem went away, as you just saw. So I tested the relay that I took out, and it was sticking. So when you turn the key, the relay closes, and then when you turn the key off, the relay sticks closed until you completely cut power to the car. Then it opens back up. I also tapped on it a few times and it fixed the problem. So it is that relay. So for anybody that has that problem, that is the issue. But now we are going to attempt to start the car. So that'll be in the next episode. So go and check it out, because I don't know if it'll start yet. So yeah, we'll see.